Now, for many women, morning sickness is not unexpected in the early stages of pregnancy, but there is another rare condition that makes some so severely ill they consider having an abortion. It's called Hyperemesis gravidarum and it gained publicity when the Duchess of Cambridge was diagnosed with it during each of her pregnancies.
It affects between 1 and 3% of women, and the UK's biggest study into the condition, released today, found 5% of sufferers terminated a wanted pregnancy and 7% admitted to having suicidal thoughts. Well, joining us now is one of the report's authors, Professor Catherine Williamson from King's College London, and the journalist Stephanie Allison, who experienced the condition during both of her pregnancies. Thank you both so much for taking the time to speak with us on the programme tonight. Stephanie, I'll start with you. Can you just give us an idea of what you went through during your pregnancies?
I had hyperemesis in both my pregnancies, and it wasn't until around sort of 7 weeks that the sickness hit me. And as you sort of said at the start, I did think it was morning sickness. But as time went on, the sickness got so severe that, I had to seek help, medical help. And the thing that really, I think, hit home with me was the lack of understanding and awareness around the condition. It's something that leaves you unable to shower. You can't get your hands above your head to wash your hair. You can't do simple tasks like brushing your teeth. Going out the door, smells, anything really would set you off. And I think just being left in this sort of situation where nobody can really appreciate how you're feeling is incredibly frustrating and incredibly lonely.
And, I mean, from how I understand it, you were literally bedbound, and even getting to the doctor, your husband had to carry you there. I mean, it just sounds absolutely awful.
Yeah, the doctor wasn't far from where I lived at the time. And I think what I should say at this point to put that into context is the fact that you can't, certainly for me personally, I wasn't able to eat solid food for literally weeks. And by about 10 weeks, getting across the road to the doctor was quite a difficult challenge. My husband was signed off work for 2 weeks to look after me. I couldn't be left. So yeah, that was the reality of it.
We're going to speak with Professor Williamson on this, but just finally for you for just now, we know that some women feel that their only option is to terminate the pregnancy. Did you feel that too?
I can only speak from my own personal experience, but there were 3 things that left me feeling pretty desperate. It was the frustration, the loneliness, and the exhaustion. And nobody understands really where you're coming from. The only way I could sort of articulate how I felt was to compare it to having norovirus for 9 months. Mm-hmm. I was on anti-sickness medication that they give to cancer patients, and it's very sad that these are the lengths that women who suffer with this have to go to in order to be understood. And so there's the frustration, there's the loneliness because you feel like nobody else is going through it, and it's the exhaustion from the lack of sort of nutrition that you get from this that leaves you, with some very, very dark thoughts that you really don't have the energy to fight.
Professor Williamson, around 5,000 people took part in this study, and the results that you've published really are quite heartbreaking. 5% of those that took part said they had an abortion, despite very much wanting their unborn child. And almost half of the people you spoke to considered it.
Absolutely. The results of this survey, which is the largest one that has been done, do illustrate how distressing hyperemesis gravidarum is for women who have the condition. In addition to 5% of women terminating a pregnancy, half of the women surveyed said they did consider this at some point in the pregnancy. And similarly, 7% had regular suicidal thoughts, but about 1 in 4 had occasional suicidal thoughts. As Stephanie has described, the condition is really, really very unpleasant.
Do those results indicate that these women just aren't getting the care that they need and deserve?
Many women are looked after incredibly well, but I think we still do have work to do. We did some additional analysis where we found that those that had suicidal thoughts were more likely to have suicidal thoughts if their perception was that their care, either primary or secondary care, was not as good as they would hope it would be. So there certainly is more we could do. And another finding was, although the majority of women had treatment, about half of them had to ask for treatment. And it's very important to know that there is a very good guideline from the Royal College of Obstetricians and Gynecologists that does describe the drugs that are safe to take in pregnancy. So it is important for clinical practitioners and women and their relatives to know that there are drugs that can be taken that have a very good safety profile and will improve the way we look after women
and
with hyperemesis.
Just briefly, I mean, are there better treatments that could be available? I mean, is there any research going into this, for example?
We need more research. Yes, there is research. I'm delighted that we've been funded by the research arm of the NHS in England and Wales, the NIHR, to do a study of the genetic causes of hyperemesis gravidarum. And we'll be following on from one study that was done in the States that did identify a likely hit with a hormone that actually activates a vomiting center in the brain. Now, if we can confirm that, maybe we can think about designing some treatments that would block this, which could be incredibly exciting. But in the meantime, there are drugs that can be used. They're not perfect, but they do improve women.
Stephanie, do you think that there is enough awareness around this? I mean, we mentioned when the Duchess of Cambridge was diagnosed, I mean, it did seem that there was a lot of awareness then, but did you get the impression that people understood what you were going through, or was it a bit like, oh, morning sickness, I've had that, you know, have a ginger biscuit or whatever?
I think you've hit the nail on the head there. It's morning sickness. Well, this is a reaction that I met quite frequently. You know, it's morning sickness. Lots of women go through this. You will come out the other side. You know, just try and get yourself to 12 weeks. Ginger really helps. And, you know, I thought to myself, I'm taking the strongest anti-sickness medication possible. A ginger biscuit's not, I don't think it's going to touch the sides. No. You know, I did meet with a GP at one stage who said, what is it you'd like me to do for you? And I thought, oh my goodness, that's, you know, this is bad if I can't get the help from my GP that I need. And that was as recently as 2019.
Right.
So yes, the Duchess of Cambridge and the fact that she suffered with it in 3 pregnancies, that has really, really helped to elevate awareness surrounding it. But as Professor Williamson has said, there is so much more that needs to be done.
Okay. Stephanie Allison and Professor Catherine Williamson, thank you both so much for taking the time to speak with us this evening.
Thank you.